Have you ever stopped to look at mosses in the forests? Well, if you haven't, you've been missing out. And today I'm going to show you 4 different conifer forest mosses that are very common here in the Pacific Northwest. So we're starting off by looking at this one right here, which is called Kindbergia oregana, also known as Oregon beaked moss. You can see that it almost looks like an ostrich feather. So I pulled one out for us to have a closer look at here, and you can see that it has almost layers of growth to it, where it's each season has been growing a new segment to it. And yeah, just something about it really makes me think of a feather or an ostrich plume or something like that. So it's pretty distinctive. You can see it's rather flat. It grows on top of each other in quite a distinct clump. So it's an amazing little moss, and if we move just slightly over, we're looking at an entirely different moss. So you can see how the texture and color of this moss is quite a bit different. And if I pull it out, you can notice something about it right away. And if I hold it sideways like this, get out of there. You can see that it's actually growing in little step-like patterns. So there's wide spaces in between the layers, and that's actually where this moss gets its name. It's known as step moss or Hylocomium splendens, and you can see the new step is just coming out this year. That's it right there, and it'll be growing a new plume just like this one from last year. So you can see the years of growth on this Hylocomium splendens quite easily. If we shift over just a tiny bit more, we can look at another different moss. And this one is quite stringy, long, and kind of irregular branching. So unlike the first moss we looked at, this one is much more messy looking. The branching pattern isn't regular and beautiful like a feather. It's quite irregular and all over the place. But it's long and thin, which is where it gets its name of being called Lanky moss, or Rhytidiadelphus loreus. So it's got a nice, long, thin branching pattern. It's often this particular moss is often used for stuffing baskets. And if we go just a little bit further, we can see another different moss. And you can see this one looks quite different than any of the other ones we've looked at before. It's smaller, it's flatter, it's got a brighter color, and this one is sometimes called Wavey Leafed Cotton Moss or flat moss, or the scientific name is Plagiothecium undulatum, and it forms great carpets as well. So if we look up just a little bit further, here's a nice carpet of the Rhytidiadelphus loreus, the Lanky moss, with a step moss inside of it, a Hylocomium splendens. And then if I pan just a little bit over this way, we can see a nice big mat of the Plagiothecium undulatum, the waxy cotton moss. So mosses often grow in clumps like this, and you can see nice big patches of them. They sometimes grow in different environments, like on on organic matter versus on rocks or on branches. So you'll see different moss growing in different kinds of habitats, but they're often growing together in clumps. And if you take some time to just look around you, you'll be amazed at the number of different colors, textures, sizes, shapes of mosses there are to be found.